Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and let's play around with another super long skein of yarn. This is a skein of wool to dye for platinum sock. But it's not a typical skein, it's a long skein. This skein is 6 meters long, and I have it sort of crocheted, braided up to store it. And well, I thought I like having sort of looped chains for dip dyeing. We've done that with mini skeins. It's created some really cool variegated colorways. Why not crochet this neater than what I have here? Dip dye it, and then we can create a long repeating variegated colorway, which will be, I think, pretty fun. I've dip dyed really long skeins before to create a repeating gradient with great results. And this is just, I guess, a literal twist on the technique, and I'm excited to see how it'll play out. And while we get started, if you are a big fan of ChemKnits content and want to support the channel on another level, well, first, make sure that you're subscribed. But you should also consider becoming a ChemKnits patron. Patrons get early access to some new content, behind the scenes sneak peeks, and there's other fun perks. You can find a link to the ChemKnits Patreon in both the video description and in the top right-hand corner of your screen. This is kind of where I want the skein to end up, but I want to do it with some more intent. So I am going to undo this, and let's think about how we really want this to happen. I wonder, so if I let this be that starting loop, and come in like that, and then we can sort of start doing a really loose crochet chain here. And so this serves sort of a two-purpose thing. This will allow us to have a shorter skein, which is great for dip dyeing, but it also is adding some resist points, especially as it gets wet, where the yarn pulls on itself. We'll add some, they could be white, they could end up with some color. I think it depends on how quickly or slowly we dip this in. And I think, I'm trying to be careful. Uh-oh. I want to make sure that we're fairly well ordered. Okay. Come in here with one last loop, and then I think I'm going to put a zip tie through here to hold it all together. These zip ties I use are removable. I know this might not have been the best tutorial for how I created this chain, but hopefully it's somewhat followable. We will knit up a swatch at the end of the video, so you will get to see exactly how this comes out, but I'm excited. And we're not even, ooh, maybe I should pick a color that might break. We're not even necessarily going for something that will break, but actually I think I will mix it that way. I might add some purple pop to some other color, so that way we do get some breaking. But the thought is that we'll have more color intensity down at the bottom, less at the top. And so now I am going to pre-soak or not pre-soak? That is a question. I'm gonna pre-soak this. So I'm gonna go ahead and pre-soak it for 20 to 30 minutes in just some plain tap water. I had a bit of an idea. In this pot I have 16 cups of water, and we'll start with, I think, 4 tablespoons of white vinegar. Okay, I have no idea if this is going to work the way I think it will, but I have a 1% stock solution of True Black, of Dharma True Black here, and we're going to add 3 tablespoons, which is about 45 milliliters. It's not a lot of black dye if we wanted a true black, but it is, given that we have limited surface area, I think that it is a good amount. Okay, so True Black doesn't break, but you know what does? Purple Pop. It leaves a beautiful, beautiful pink behind. So what I'm hoping is that we'll get some charcoal gray with some pops of pink. I don't know if it's gonna work, but it could. And so that's cool. What's extra funny is that I'm doing a very similar color palette on another one of these 6-meter skeins, but I'm using a completely different kind of technique from this one. So anyway, I just thought that that was pretty fun. But now I'm gonna let this heat up and then we'll come and dip dye. The heat is still on high. We are not yet at a boil, but you can see there's movement, and so we're gonna go for it. I've taken our crochet chain and I gently squeezed out a lot of the water. So my hope here, I hope that we'll get maybe black leading charcoal gray on the outside with a bit of a pink halo, because I know Purple Pop is temperamental. And there's definitely some hues in Purple Pop that will strike quickly. And I'm probably gonna have to leave all this in our pot for a long period of time. Things are looking fairly purple right now, which, I mean, I guess I don't know how quickly the black will strike, but it's okay if it doesn't actually work and we don't actually see the breaking that I have in my head. But this is looking really pretty right now, and as a color combination I think would be really lovely. So I have successfully mixed Purple Pop and Frozen to achieve some nice breaking with acid dyes before. But the question is how this will do. And as I'm dipping, I am moving it to get some coverage. Like I want some resist points, and I want some resist in there. And you can see, like right here, we've got a paler section, but I also want, like within these big areas, to get some color coverage. So, well, that's looking kind of cool. One other thing that could happen that it didn't occur to me is we could get something that's like gray to like a purple here at the end. So I'm going to just sort of wiggle that tip in just to get a little bit of color on there. But then we're going to come back out and go back to being slow. Because the concern with any dip dyeing is that you go in too fast. And you can see there is a, ooh, I see some purple. The concern is that you go in too much too fast. And I think what I might do right now, okay, we've got some good coverage so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. I am upping the vinegar to up the absorption. So that was 4, and then 5, and then 6. And I don't know if you saw that all of a sudden the water is having a much more pinky purple hue. Yeah, like I think that this is going to help us absorb a lot of that black. So I would definitely call this breaking. I see some black there, and I think we have some like purpley colors. I like it if the black sort of toned down some of these pinks, but I am still going to hang out and be a little slow and careful for putting the whole thing in. We might still need a yarn mop. What? We only used 1 tablespoon of Purple Pop, so that would be a like that would be a 0.15% DOS. Once again, going in there. Okay, I'm gonna pop the whole thing in for, well, a minute. You can see just how pink that is. and I'm curious. Okay, if I dip in the paper towel, I don't see any color on it. But clearly there is color in the pot. Oh, okay, if I wring it out, thing next to my glove, when I set it back on the counter, there is a tiny bit of pink. Here, now you can maybe can see it. There, you can see it on the paper towel, but next to my glove, it looked like next to no color, which is funny given how much color I see in here. You know what this looks like to me? This is reminding me of Twilight Gray. Huh. Okay, but anyway, ooh, that's really pretty. Let me zoom in and show you. It's really pretty in the pot with the dark to the more pink. And so this is sort of what I was hoping for. I'm hoping that this pink will absorb. Let's even add more vinegar, another 3 tablespoons. The purple pop takes time. We're gonna need to leave it in here to cool completely. That's just what it's gonna take. So I'm gonna leave it here for 15 minutes and then we'll check back in. Okay, the time is up and you can see I don't even need to pull out. There's a lot of color in there. A lot of color is in our yarn, and I'm gonna do a nice splash of vinegar. But now we're gonna turn off this pot and let everything cool off slowly. That seems to be what purple pop needs. I hope I didn't use too much. It's sort of scary, but I'm excited. This is beautiful. Like sitting there in the water, you can see that pink pipe poking through. It is not 100% cooled off yet. It is definitely approaching room temperature. The water has cleared and we've got this beautiful, it feels glazed. It feels like I dyed it pink and then I dipped it into black. But you guys know that that isn't what happened. I'm gonna let it cool a little bit more and then we can wash it. Okay, and something else. Look at these resist points. I'm not sure. Okay, there's definitely some gradient going on. I was afraid that it's gonna feel just like black and then pink, but we'll see. It's possible that it'll just be some pops of color that get all of a sudden a little bigger and it might feel micro-striped with some other pops, but I am so curious to swatch this. And putting it in and seeing no color bleed out is awesome. All right, the soap, this is a question. I'm adding just some clear dish soap, and the only reason why I'm specifying clear is because for video purposes, I like to be able to show if we're seeing bleeding. And then we pick it up, and give it a good squeeze. That's good, my friends. I'm gonna continue washing it. I'll rinse it, I will rinse out this soap, and then we'll put this through the spin dryer, hang it up to dry. Once the yarn is dry, then we'll come and unravel this and see what the 6-meter skein now looks like. And then of course I'm gonna have to knit up a swatch. I mean, how could I not? Ooh, I am excited, you guys. I cannot tell you how excited I am to open this up. I'm not sure if it comes through on camera. We've got a beautiful sort of true pink and then some light glaze with gray that gets darker and darker and darker until I do believe we have a true black down here. Okay, but now let's open this up and take a closer look. Hopefully the unraveling won't be super difficult. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. I don't know why I can't just pull. Man, it seems so easy when I first put it together, and then now I'm not sure what I am doing wrong. But we'll take a look at this in just a sec. Okay. Here we go. This worked so well, I almost can't even describe it. We have a gradient here with what we showed before, but the balance is pretty good. So a third is sort of mostly pink. And then we've got maybe a little over a third that is pretty black with some pink spots. And then a more charcoaly gray intermediate section. I'm not sure, well actually, because it's doubled over, because this pink is at an end, this is actually longer. So I think like we should have enough for at least a full stripe of this lightest pink section. Oh man. I mean, when I go and I swatch this in a little bit, I'm not going to be using as many stitches as you might with a pair of socks. So you'll have to sort of take everything with a grain of salt. But I do expect we'd get a couple stripes out of that pink. And that is awesome. Before I go swatch the yarn, I need to make this a much more manageable skein size. So what I'm going to do is either set this up between two chairs or bring out my warping board so that way I can in an organized way, wind this into, say, a 4-foot skein so that way I can make the swatch. But when we come back, I'll take care of all that off camera. But when we'll come back, we'll get to see what this looks like knit up. I'm so excited. I know I can't always provide swatches in all of my videos. I dye way too much yarn that I just don't have the time to do it with every skein. But for something like this that is so unique, we need to see how it knits up. When winding up this yarn, I did notice one join in the skein. Thankfully, this will be pretty invisible when knit or crocheted into a project. I used US size 2.5, which I think is 2.25 millimeter knitting needles, and I knit 40 stitches back and forth. And this is what the swatch looks like. We've got this awesome, like deep gray to black variegated section, and then these smaller pink stripes. So even if you were going and had all the stitches you needed for a sock, I think you would still get one complete round of this mottled pink color, giving you this sort of thick and thin, soft striped effect. Of course, things will vary if you're using different needle sizes and your number of stitches varies more than, say, from 40 to 60 stitches or something like that. But the potential with this technique is really, really fantastic. I am so excited that we created a colorway that breaks beautifully. Adding a little purple pop in with another color gives some great potential. Imagine if we did this with navy or with deep purple or maybe even a deep green. It would be subtle enough that the primary, like that primary deep color might not be altered, but we could get this wash of pink left behind, which is really, really awesome. This is something that I point out in many videos, but when we look at the reskeined yarn, it's hard to know just looking at that skein what is going on. You need either a swatch or something with self-striping yarn, because with this, it's hard to say if it's just variegated, and you could be surprised when you started to see the striping. This could look very similar to if I had done a similar technique but not using a 6-meter skein. So that is something to keep in mind when you're browsing through hand-dyed yarn. I know I'm not always able to provide a swatch, and my preference is still to see yarn as it was dyed, because that gives me a better sense of if the colors are random, the potential length of color repeats, etc. But obviously that's not the case when you're dealing with a really long skein, because that would just be really hard for most people to manage, and so it makes more sense to have it stored in the shorter skein. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I really, really hope you enjoyed this video. I know that I'm going to want to play with this technique more in the future. Maybe we should go for something that is even longer than a 6-meter skein. Now that I've got my warping board and everything, that's something that I can achieve. But it is really, really handy that you can buy these long skeins from Wool to Dye For, so then it just saves you that amount of preparation. please subscribe and make sure your notifications are on so you don't miss any new videos. Now all that's left for me to do is to frog this really cute little swatch and wind the skein back up. But yeah, I really wish I could provide swatches in more videos. That is the thing that is the most highly requested item of all my videos, but it does add significant time to the production, and with the number of skeins that I dye in a year, I just do not have the capability to swatch all of them, unfortunately. But this week there are 2 videos with 2 swatches, so I hope you guys are enjoying it, and I do have a playlist with other self-striping yarns that you can go check out and see the other techniques that I've explored. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.